delightful opportunity to visit here. I haven't been back that many times since I left Thailand in 1979. This is the fifth occasion I've returned. So it's a rare opportunity, and it's also a person, since all my associations with Lanachat was always I was the junior guy, I was the pakao and the novice, the monk at the end of the line here. And almost all of my monastic life has been in the West. One of the things, just arriving last night and being here, say, first day here, it's a new thing. And then I plan to go back and visit Royet, where I spent my first pansa as a bhikkhu, Ajahn Monastery. So there's that thought, I'm just here at Nanachat for a day or so, and then I'm on my way to Royet. And then I know others of you off to, one bhikkhu's off to Ajahn Jandi's monastery tomorrow, and Ajahn Pasna's just off to the Leader retreat, and just now we're having the Ovada, and we're all just off on our ways back to our kutis, or just going to the dyeing shed or the sewing room, or just got to get that building job finished off. And this is on the worldly level, there's always this element that we meet and live with of being on the way to something else. Or even in our lives, in just being a layperson here on the way to becoming a pakao, or a pakao on the way to becoming a novice, or a novice on the way to becoming a bhikkhu, or a bhikkhu, a navaka on the way to becoming a majjhima on the way to becoming a thera on the way to becoming a mahathera, and or just arriving in Nanachat, or going to a branch monastery, or the list is endless. But it's a kind of addiction that we have as human beings, is to always be on the way to something else. And there's always a sense of either promise of what that new thing holds, or a sense of fear, or anticipation, or duty. And that movement towards is a constant companion, but it's also a deluding element in our life, that feeling of, I've just got to get this done, and once I've got to, and then it'll be different, and then, and that we can follow that energy so easily, just feeling like we're doing our duty, or we've got to make plans, or we've got to get things in place, which is true. But if we're always on the way to the next thing, then we miss the Dhamma, because the Dhamma is sanditiko akaliko. That if the mind is always fixed on the footstep after this one, then we're never really here for this. We're never here waiting for the recorder, to turn on. It's always like, oh, when the recorder is turned on, then we can begin. Then we can have the Ovada. Then when the Ovada's finished, then I can. And Ajahn Amaro is really notorious for going on forever and ever. How long is this Ovada going to go on for? The Abhayagiri monks know this to be true. But one of the most simple and profound teachings in the suttas is Nibbana is the cessation of becoming. Nibbana is the cessation of becoming, and that can sound very sort of grand or something like a sort of spectacular event. But what that means is, what that points to is just that effort that we can make to be with this particular moment, this one action, this particular word that's being said or being heard right now, this particular feeling in the body, and not letting the mind be on the way to something else. Like Ajahn Sumedho would often tell a story of how when he was a young bhikkhu at Wat Pah Pong, and there were no other Farang monks around in those days, and so he was a bit of an oddity, and occasionally people would come to visit Wat Pah Pong, and they'd be interested to meet the Pratfarang, because it was such a rare and mysterious, legendary thing. And usually Lumpur would leave him alone and not sort of get him to perform or show up and be just an object of interest. But sometimes he would say, he'd see, there'll be some use to these people meeting the Prafarang. So one day, like that, he was in his kuti, and then a layman, Bapong, came round and said, Tan Sumeto, Lumpur's got some visitors and he's asked you to come to his kuti. They'd like to meet you. And so he thought, Lumpur's asking for me. I better get ready. And so he kind of scrambles up and kind of throws his robe on, is stomping down the steps. And he's as you know, Lumpur Sumeto is a big guy, and with big feet. And so he's clumping down the steps and then goes striding off down the path. And the poor Ok is just sort of scurrying, faintly pursuing afterwards. And as they're going along, and Ajahn Sumedho is sort of striding purposefully down the path, and he hears the poor ox saying, Lumpur Cha doesn't walk like that. In a very straightforward Isan type way. And then Ajahn Sumedho responded with I think what he felt was, what do you mean? But he said, he sort of stopped and said, well, how is that? And he said, Lumpur only walks one step at a time, Kap, Kanoi. And he was really, really struck by that. And he realized that's exactly the way that Lumpur walked. And he saw that he was just in a hurry. There was no particular urgency. Lumpur wasn't kind of timing him as to see how long even though we should do things in a timely way and not keep the Ajahn waiting, still we shouldn't be using that as an opportunity to create more suffering and disturbance for ourselves. But just to recognize, I'm caught up in this becoming habit, trying to get to the next thing, to get to where I'm supposed to be, and the mind is caught in a flurry of rush and activity. And that if we just take that moment to relax into what we're doing, we can even move at high speed, but still be moving one step at a time. Without that, we can be acting in a prompt and brisk way, but without being caught in that becoming habit. So even though we're all on the way, on the worldly level, to other things, moments pass by, minutes tick away, actions need to be carried out. If we remember that, and this is something I try to reflect on a lot myself, just that Nibbana is indeed the cessation of becoming, then we can carry out the actions that we need to and take care of all of the work that needs to be done. We can go from A to B without being caught, without generating that becoming energy. We can free the heart from that kind of compulsion, that kind of destructive habit. Because if we don't, then we never reach any kind of completion. There's no finish, because there's always something more to get to. There's always another thing. So I will finish that, my Ovada for today, and offer these thoughts for reflection. And please do with them as you wish. Yeah, I'll come with you. But is that just here, or is there some other place? Okay, well, let me just... My bowl and my spoon and...